Hello, everybody, and welcome to college football predictions. This is week 6 now. I need to remember that week 6. Don't say week 5. Sometimes it's their 5th game, I guess. Some others it's a sixth game if my paper would not keep folding over. Anyway, so this week, last weekend was a fun week, definitely. I don't know what to put it. It was definitely, again, a week where not much stuff happened. Like, if you look at it big picture, USC losing was huge. But in the end, I don't know how much last week. Well, I guess Virginia Tech losing too. Kind of that put the AAC. Well, I don't know if that knocked them out completely. It definitely knocked them into a tier that, I don't know, it's weird. Oh well, this is why these are predictions and not actual fact. Again, and everything's subject to change. For all we know, Clemson could just completely fall off the face of the earth and all of a sudden, or Alabama, same thing. But I highly doubt anything, so this will happen, but you never know. Anyway, so let's get right to kind of like, so I guess this week, there's a few, let's see here, 1, 2, only 2 top 25 against each other matchups. So Louisville and NC State, and then TCU and West Virginia, which is probably an underrated game. I don't hear much coverage about it, but yeah. Anyway, so let's get into it. First game I put on here is Louisville and NC State. This is a one that definitely could be good. I don't know. It's one of those things where this one's kind of weird because I don't know how to call it. Lamar Jackson is a very good, player, and has some good things, he can do. But at the same time, NC State's been more consistent. Last year, I was kind of shocked. I think I said that in several prediction videos. It was kind of one of those things where we were just waiting for them to do something, waiting for them to finally knock off that big team. And I think they did. They beat Florida State, but again, how big of a win that is, I don't know. But this week, they definitely have a chance to make a statement. What's their record? I have to do some external research here. I'm not going to use the computer. We have our handy-dandy smartphone here. What would we do without these things? Oh yeah, that's right. Have to look things up on the encyclopedias. I have used a few of them before. They're not too bad. Well, or just my own stats. They're 4-1. Okay, that's what I thought. I knew they lost. Who did they lose to? Let's go to their thing here. Bio thing. NC State. Is NC State actually favored to win that game? Holy cow, the FPI actually has an NC State winning. Who did they lose to? Oh, South Carolina, that's right, in the opening game of the season. I don't know, though. Again, opening games of the season are kind of tough. I sometimes discount them, especially if it's against a team at South Carolina, where they're kind of pumped up to play it. But at the same point, it does factor into things, but I kind of definitely count those less than I do mid-season losses. Because in a mid-season line, your opening game of the year, you could, you're not the same team you are late in the year. So a late-season loss kind of tells more about you than it does an early-season loss, in my opinion. But anyway, so that game, the FPI had it going NC State. I would have to kind of go that way, too. Just because, again, I wasn't all that impressed when Louisville played Purdue. Honestly, they made a lot of mental mistakes. And it seems like, and again, when they got blown out at Clemson, against Clemson, I think the same thing was, I don't think they made as many mental mistakes penalty-wise and crap, and stuff like that. There's always crap like that. Yeah. Oh well, who cares? But I don't think that they made as many mistakes, but at the same point, or on the penalty-wise, but I think they made a lot of mental mistakes in that game that were just, had no business happening. But anyway, Alright, so I'm going to have to go NC State. We'll circle that here. That way we can look back and remember actually who I picked for fun purposes later. We can see how bad I did. Next, Wake Forest at Clemson. Wake Forest was I don't know, Wake Forest last week should have beaten Florida State, in my opinion. Just some really questionable calls down the stretch. Like, why would you play conservative at your 2-yard line? I mean, I get it, but at the same point, you're playing Florida State. You can't do that. I mean, they're going to go, obviously, you can't do that against Florida State. Florida State has enough weapons that they'll get, a touchdown offensively. I think it was tied at that point. I think it was when it was 19-19. But they played conservative and gave it right back to them. And I was just sitting there like, why would you not try to score? It's like I don't know, they had too much trust in their defense, I think, at that point. And, I mean, that is something you have to do. But at the same point, it's like, hey, you have to have some confidence in your offense to go put points on the board. And against Florida State, they're going to get into that scoring range eventually. I think they won on a field goal, if I'm not mistaken. They might have won on a touchdown, I don't remember. I can't remember now. I'm going to have to look that up. I watched the game too. This is kind of pathetic. Now it's just so many games and the way they end. This weekend was kind of weird because a lot of the games ended kind of like in the same way. Let me look it up. We're going to have to go to Wake Forest at Clemson. Here we go. They lost by 7. Yeah, they did give up a touchdown, but it was like one of those things where it's like, why did you give the ball back to Florida State? It's like they were going to get in the end zone eventually, and it was just a matter of time. And, but at the same point, Clemson should win this game. It shouldn't be much of a... I mean, it'll be one of those things where Wake Forest, but again, that's not really that much of a win. I guess so to say, or much of a loss. I mean, can't talk. Cannot talk today. That doesn't help when you're trying to record a vlog type thing with football. Let's try here. I think that Clemson will win that game. I think Wake Forest will keep it close for a little while. Like, it'll be one of those things where as the second half starts, Clemson will start to pull away. And, yeah. So I got Clemson. And that one, we're going to go ahead and circle it. Next, Iowa State and Oklahoma. For some reason, everybody's been talking about that stupid game where Iowa State beat Oklahoma State a few years ago. Again, I don't get that. I mean, I've never been a big fan of, they beat one team. Like, Iowa's thing, okay, that's one thing because that was top 5 teams. They had beaten them 3 times in a row. But Iowa State, that's a one outlier in which they beat a top 5. How many other teams did they played like that and lost? Plus, it's against Oklahoma State. Now, I get it if that week you bring it up, but every time they play a top opponent like that, it just doesn't make sense to me why it keeps getting brought up. I mean, I don't think Iowa State has a chance. I mean, sorry, they're not Jim Carrey and Dumb and Dumber. And they're not Lloyd Christmas. Not the same thing, but you know what I mean. I see that game as definitely going toward Oklahoma. I mean, I think Oklahoma definitely, again, has more to prove out of everybody, I think, because I mean, they have been there the last 3 years, have been in the conversation, but I think they're always the team that kind of gets overlooked. So definitely they have a lot more to prove, but so I think it'll be a blowout. Iowa State might keep it close in the first quarter or something like that, but I don't see that game being that close. Yep. Next we have good old Penn State and Northwestern. This will be a good game in my opinion. Penn State has had some issues the last few weeks. I think they definitely could have lost to IU if IU would have had their defense, their offense, would have had their offense, working, which is a weird thing to say if you've watched IU football in the last few years. If only their offense would have shown them. That's been the thing that has been consistent. It's been their defense has been the problem. But definitely, if they would have played, their offense would have played a little bit better. I think they could have beaten Penn State. And Northwest, this is almost a trap game for Penn State. I mean, I'm not going to pick the upset just because I think Penn State has too many weapons. But look for a game that kind of flows the same way for that Iowa game, I think. You're going to see a lot of defense. Northwestern has a great defense. They had some problems against Wisconsin, but, everybody doesn't. Wisconsin's, a really good team. I guess that's their bye. Well, Wisconsin plays Nebraska. That'll be later. But Penn State, I definitely think will win that game. I mean, it'll be close, though. again, I guess expect it either last year, kind of be one of those things where Penn State gets a stop late, or Northwest or goes on a scoring drive or something like that. I think it'll flow the same way the Iowa game flew. I mean, it kind of went. It'll be a really close game, and Penn State will do something to separate itself from Northwestern late. And that's what a good team versus a great team happens usually. A really good team versus a great team, I think happens. I think Northwestern's a lot better than 2-2. I mean, they came back and almost beat Wisconsin at Camp Randall last week. I mean, that's pretty good. If it wouldn't have been for a few, and I think that's a team that's growing. And I think they'll continue to grow, but I don't think they're able to beat Penn State. So we're going to go Penn State, but again, expect it to be close. I would be shocked if it's a blowout, but you never know. This one, I would not be shocked if it's a blowout. Georgia at Vanderbilt. In fact, I think it will be. I think Vanderbilt has started to fall apart. They sure kept a game against Florida, but Florida doesn't, is playing musical quarterbacks at this point, which is pretty much how it always seems to go about this time of year. But somehow they keep winning. Weird. No, it's because they're disciplined, but that's beyond the point. Georgia and Vanderbilt, this game won't be close. I got Georgia big. Georgia just seems this year to finally have clicked. The last few years, they've been on the verge of it. There's been several times where it's been, Georgia's just, one or two, freak things away from being good, really good. They're great, And I think finally this year they got everything tuned up. Nick Chubb's doing pretty well. Again, they're kind of, I think it's Fromm as their quarterback. He's pretty good. Again, I think when they went into South Bend and beat Notre Dame, even though that's not, again, as good of a win as it could have been, this, I think, Notre Dame, don't get me wrong, is a good team, but I don't think they're a top 5 team this year. But I think that win definitely proved that Georgia had what it takes. I think it turned a corner, because that's a game they would have kind of gotten trapped and lost the last few years. But I think this year they're back to being, that team that could challenge Alabama for the SEC championship. I mean, Alabama's, on a different level, but come November, how much more have this Georgia team grown? Even, how much, and so definitely, I think this will be a blowout. I don't think Vanderbilt will have much of a chance. I mean, they'll probably keep it close a little bit since they're at home, but look for kind of the same. Look for a game that kind of flows. It kind of goes. I don't know. One of those games where Vanderbilt keeps it close for the first quarter and a half, and then as things start to go, as things start to progress, Georgia will pull away. So we got Georgia in that game. Next, we have Ole Miss at Auburn. I think they're going to suffer. I think Ole Miss is going to suffer the same fate as last week. They are going to get beat up. Just a team in turmoil, kind of, after everything that happened. Auburn's going to win this game big. There's not much to say about this game. Just not much speculation needed. We'll move on to the next game, which will be a little more fun. I think it's the underrated game of the week for sure. I mean, I really haven't heard much about it. Maybe that's because I haven't watched the Sports Soldiers much this weekend, which is not a bad thing sometimes. But TCU and West Virginia, this game will be good. I mean, it's two teams that kind of have been sleeping. You've been sleeping on a little bit this year. TCU a little bit. I mean, after they beat Oklahoma State, people started waking up to them. But even then, I think they're kind of a sleeper top 10 pick team, that's for sure. West Virginia is a top sleeper, top 25 team. You don't think about them right away when you think about it. I mean, and it's funny is they've been consistently good, so it's one of those things where it's like, But, I don't know, for some reason West Virginia always seems to kind of get not as much credit. I mean, it comes down to, I think their schedule isn't as good, but I mean, still. TCU, I think will win this game. It'll be a good game, though. I really do. Yeah, it'll be a good game. Again, I expect another, it'll kind of be one of those back and forth battles. I think, though, TCU will take it in the end. Probably like a 20, it's a packed Big 12, so you have to double the scores you'd regularly say, because I'd rather say, 24, like 21 or something like 24-20. Well, let's double it. We got to go like 48, 45, something like that, Big 12 has a lot of scoring, which is not a bad thing. I mean, that's just the way they play. Okay, next we have Miami and Florida State. This one's going to be going to the Hurricanes big time. I think Miami will expose Florida State's defense. Florida State's offense they can beat Wake Forest, yeah, but I don't think they have enough to beat Miami. Miami is much improved on the defensive end of things. I think that was kind of a thing that they had a problem with last year, but I definitely think Miami's going to take them, take them out to the cleaners and put it that way. No, I think this game won't be. I think it'll be Miami's game to lose. But at the same point, I don't think they will. I think they'll go into it's going to be tough because going into Tallahassee is going to be always a tough. Tallahassee, yeah, Florida State, yeah, that's right. Yeah. But anyway, going into Tallahassee is always tough. But I think they escape with a win. Tallahassee will make it a little closer of a game, but a little closer could be 10, 13 points. 2 touchdowns maybe. I don't know. Next we got Notre Dame, North Carolina. Notre Dame, that's not even close. Do we need to go into that anymore? I mean, honestly, North Carolina is just not as good as they were a year ago. Notre Dame's a lot better than they were a year ago, so it's funny because you got the one trend in here. I'm going to move this closer to here so when I do my thing here, it's not as off-center. But it's kind of been the tale of 2 seasons. One is trending down and tanking, hitting the ground hard. The other's kind of going up. Notre Dame's getting back up to where they should be, which is a top 25 team. North Carolina's going back down. Is going down. Yeah. Next we have LSU and Florida. This game will not. This game will be closer because Florida has an offensive issue, but I expect Florida to dominate. It'll be a dominating win, but you won't look dominating. It'll be one of those 20-7 games or something like that, where Florida gets a few defensive plays that set up touchdowns, but LSU just, I don't think has enough in them to beat them. And again, I think it'll be one of those games where it's a classic Florida win game, where it's like they grind it out. Sure, their offense has been a little better, but when you look at it, their offense has got some problems. And I think it'll be very apparent. But at the same point, I do like Florida to win this game. Again, they're a team that's disciplined enough that they can beat teams they shouldn't with not as much talent or anything. That's kind of what they've been based. That's kind of the thing is in the last few years when they've had these injuries or suspensions, they've won games because of their discipline. And it would be scary to think if they got really, really good talent in their QB that would stay consistent, what they would be. They would definitely be up there with Alabama, but the fact is they can't stay healthy. So. Oh, goodness. Well, I don't know why I yawned, but there it goes. It's because I was thinking of Florida's offense. I was going to make that joke, but their offense isn't bad by any stretch of the man. It's just not. Their defense is definitely insanely good. That's what it comes down to. But next, moving on, we have Ohio State and Maryland. This game will not. Another game that'll kind of not be close. Kind of not be close. Yeah, I think Maryland. Well, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't. I guess I was thinking of Rutgers again. Maryland's been much improved. They're a better team. They went 6-6 last year. They went on the road, and they're not intimidated by road environments. I don't know what I was saying. I was thinking of Rutgers. I'm so sorry. These new Big Ten teams, I get them confused. It's because, I'm a Big Ten fan, and I've been kind of, they're kind of the new teams in the Big Ten, so I get them confused sometimes. They're good. Maryland definitely is a team that is better. And they're not intimidated by. They went into Austin and got a win against Texas. That's pretty impressive. Now, do I think they'll beat Ohio State? No. Do I think they'll keep it close? Yes. I don't know why I was completely mixing that up with Rutgers. I feel like an idiot. Oh well, we have these moments. But definitely they have some pieces that they're one of those teams that'll go 7-5 and they have a respect to play everybody competitive that they lose to. And I think they'll play Ohio State competitive. But in the end, I think Ohio State's drive to try to avenge that loss to Oklahoma and get back to the playoff will definitely be something that drives them this season until the very end. And they're going to try to and they're going to take it out on Maryland. We're really professional around here. No, I've never even claimed to be. I'm wearing a stupid Jedi blanket thing. No, I'm just sharing my opinion. Anyway, next we have USC at Oregon, or Oregon State at USC rather. I think the Trojans will win this game. Not because they're going to be amazing, but because they're playing Oregon State. USC, this is a game that could maybe help them bounce back. Expect this game to be close early because USC will have some, I think, confidence issues still. But I think this is a game where if USC can play their cards right, they can get themselves back to being, I think they just need a game where they can go out and beat up on somebody. They haven't had that the last few weeks, and I think it's really took a toll on them. And it finally was evident in that it wasn't, they've played a tough schedule. It's not, they've, again, you look at their schedule, it's been what? Western Michigan. Look this up, because it's been kind of brutal. If you look at it, they haven't had a chance to recover. And I think finally you saw that. Well, let's look. Western Michigan, bowl team, team that won 12 games last year. Really good team. Then you play Stanford. Then you play Texas. Then you play Cal, which is definitely not a team that rolls over. And then they've had no chance to catch their breath. And I think, this is the week they're going to have to, because after that it's Utah and Notre Dame. They're not going to have another game where you look at it and say they are, probably have a chance, or almost, they need this week get their confidence back, and if they can do that and beat Notre Dame and Utah, they can, have a chance to, make an impact somewhere along the line. After that, though, their schedule turns softer, definitely, and if they can use this game, get some confidence for the next 2 weeks, their schedule then kind of fizzles out to, Arizona State, Arizona, Colorado, and UCLA. UCLA is a good team, okay, so is Colorado, but Arizona and Arizona State, I don't think will be much, they're good teams, but they're not, they're your Georgia, or you're not your Utahs, or your Notre Dames, or, your, even Cal, I'd say, isn't that, not even Cal. They've just not had a chance to recover from a brutal schedule, and I think that this week will be a good chance for them to maybe get some confidence back. They're going to have to, if they don't get the confidence back, their season is going to be a bust, and they could be as serious, their season will be a bust for their expectations. They'll still be an 8-win team, that's not in question, but, or 8-9-win team, but it's like for them, their season is a bust, because they had national championship hopes, and when you're in, not in even probably a New Year's Six bowl game, that's definitely going to be tough for them. But anyway, moving on. Next we have Alabama at Texas A&M. I got Alabama big. They're going to keep up with the big destruction fest, I guarantee it. Texas A&M's having their problems, but they've kind of, but I definitely think that Alabama's going to win the game. Next we have Virginia Tech and Boston College. Virginia Tech's going to want to, they're going to try to avoid that hangover from losing to Clemson, but I don't see them having that problem. I think they're ready to go out there and try to win out. Because if they can win out the rest of the season against the rest of the ACC, and then they'll get another crack at Clemson. And I think that's what they want. And that could push them into the playoff discussion. Again, we don't know what's going to happen. Who knows? Clemson might pick up a loss somewhere. Not because, they're not, I think they're a dominant team, but it only takes one day of slipping up against, somebody to lose. So, definitely Utah. That's later on. Virginia Tech wins that game. I think they kind of avoid that layoff. Next we have number 7, Michigan, playing host to Michigan State. Michigan will win this game, in my opinion, because of the home field advantage. That's what I kind of thought about. Thing about this game, that's what I'm going to have to give it to. Michigan's defense is insane. Their offense makes plays when it has to. Michigan State does have is better than they were last year, that's for sure. But I don't think they have enough in the tank to beat Michigan at home, or on the road. Maybe if it was in East Lansing, I'd give them a little more of a chance, but even then, I'd still have to go Michigan. But Michigan will win this game. Again, this is a rivalry game, so it's going to be close, definitely. Michigan will have to win. Definitely their defense will probably be the difference. It'll probably be a late, game stop. They'll win it. Next, we have Wisconsin at Nebraska. Nebraska is, kind of has righted the ship a little bit. Sure, there were 2 games against Illinois and, what was it, Rutgers? But I mean, still, that's not, they've kind of righted the ship. They've kind of gotten everything, and this is their chance to continue to do that. I don't think it'll be in a winning effort. I think Wisconsin will win this game. Wisconsin's just too good in the second half. I was comparing them all day Saturday when I was talking to like people, and they're like an anaconda. When they first wrap around you, you can move a little bit. Teams can score against them, but as that and Northwestern did break this a little bit, but in the end they still got the choke. They got knocked out. It kind of just starts to, as the game goes on, it starts to tighten its grip, and you cannot do anything. In the second half, teams just cannot do anything against that Wisconsin defense. And the offense just starts to grind it out, and that continuous beat down of Wisconsin's offense starts to really get to you. And that's when things start, that's when definitely, that's when they start to dominate. Again, Northwestern had a little bit of success, but, in the end, they got suffocated too. So, yeah. But, Nebraska will probably keep it. Nebraska, I think, again, will have a good first half in this game. But I think, again, as that defense and everything else starts to come into play, I think Wisconsin will turn into a blowout late. Next, we have Washington State or Oregon. This is a bit of a trap game, if I were to say that. I'm still going to go with the Cougars, but definitely Oregon will play them tough. It's a trap game. There's no other way to put it. Oregon, you kind of forget that Oregon's kind of one of those teams that's been hanging around the top 25, hanging around like the cusp of it, and then, kind of gets into it, and then loses, and then kind of goes back into that, others receiving votes list. I don't know if they're there this week, but I would consider them kind of, one of the top 40 teams in the country. But in all honesty, I think up in Eugene, that's a tough game to play, no matter how good Oregon is, playing in that environment. But definitely, I'm going to go Washington State. I think they pull it out. But I would not be the slightest bit I would not be the slightest bit shocked if they go in there and Oregon beats them. But I think most likely Washington State will win. They just have they've finally gotten enough weapons around Falk, and their defense is pretty good. And so, yeah. Next, we have UCF and Cincinnati. Another one of these teams that is going to probably be vying for that spot for the new that Group of 5 bid. They play South Florida, I think, at some point. They have to, almost, don't they? I don't think that was the game that got delayed, got destroyed. Because there was a game that actually they got a conference game that USF got canceled, and I can't remember if it was against UCF. I don't think so. I think they would play later in the year. That might actually be a late, but I would assume they're in the same division in the American, and that they would have to play each other at some point, kind of as the whatever division that is, championship game almost, and that could determine who would be the Americans, team that could be fighting for that Group of 5 bid. But anyway, USCF and Cincinnati. Cincinnati's kind of down. But UCF's kind of on the. It's kind of one of those teams where. Well, I guess I wouldn't say that. Cincinnati's not going down. They've kind of hit a basement almost. I think they've kind of hit a low point, and I think UCF's hitting a high point, and so it just doesn't work out for them. I'm going UCF. I don't even. When it comes down to a score on this one, I think it'll be one of those games where it's 30-14, something like that. It's one of those games where UCF wins, and that's all you need to take out of it. Stanford to Utah. This will be a great chance for the Utes to prove that they are a top 20 team. I'm taking Utah in this game. They're going to have a chance. But at the same point, don't sleep on Stanford. So maybe pull out an upset, but at the same point, I don't think so. But you never know. This is college football. It's not like everything's set in stone. Otherwise, what's the point in playing these games? But I definitely think that game will be competitive. And again, it's a good chance for Utah to prove their top 20 ranking. Next, we have Cal at Washington. Another game that could be tough. Cal is playing everybody tough this year. But at the same point, I don't think Washington will have a problem. Browning, they still have most of the core of what they got into the playoff last year. I think Washington's kind of underrated. They're flying under the radar again. And that's a dangerous place to be for a good team, or that's a good place to be for a really good team like that, because all they're going to do is just fly under the radar, and they're going to have they're going to play at least 2 more ranked teams. So I think then at the season's end they'll jump up. They'll jump up because if they stay undefeated, that means they would have beaten. That means they would have beaten Washington State and probably whoever wins the South. USC or Utah will probably be ranked. Or whoever else wins the South, they'll be ranked when they play them. So there'll be 2 more games against ranked opponents. Not to mention, I'm probably not thinking about a team they have to play that's kind of a good team. They have to play Stanford, I think, at some point. Maybe they already did. I don't know. But the point is, they have to play another good team. So they're going to have more games against ranked opponents to jump up in the end of the year. So they're kind of just flying under the radar at this point. They're getting passed up by teams like Georgia and stuff like that. But that's not a bad place to be. Sitting right there on the cusp, because that boost you get at the end of the year is going to put you in, and it's not going to have enough time to. Because once you're in that top 4, it's a tough place to be if there's another team that's right, because the other team's always going to be looked at more. You're going to get more broken down a lot more, and to not be sitting there with 2 weeks to go is not as secure, obviously, as just ask TCU. They were 3rd in the country and then got left out. So there you go. That first year. So not a bad place to be if you're Washington. I think they win this weekend, and I think they could honestly win out. I could see that. So they're about the only, they're one of those teams that could win out. And it wouldn't be that hard to think about it. Again, Washington State's going to be tough, though. Definitely. Next we have San Diego State at UNLV. I think this game will be closer just because of all the things that are going on in Vegas. I think they'll want to go out there and put on a show. Because that city needs something to kind of rebound to. I mean, with the tragedy that's occurred there, they're going to need something to rebound to, and I think those players will go out and say, you know what, why don't we give it to them? Why don't we go out and beat a ranked team? And I think definitely that'll be a tough game for San Diego State. They've had 2 tough games in a row because they had to play Northern Illinois, which is a really good team, and now they're having to play UNLV, which will be playing with a heavy heart. So expect that game to be close. I think, and I'm still going to go with the Aztecs, but I think UNLV definitely will come out ready to play and definitely wanting to give that city a little bit of joy for something. And now we got our non-ranked games of the week. I just thought of I saw this game and I'm like, that's kind of, it's 2 teams Duke and Virginia, 2 teams that are definitely on the up after having kind of mediocre seasons the last few years. Virginia's 4-1. Duke is also 4-1. I think they're both 4-1. Yeah, well, of course, if they say they're both 4-1, I meant like they're both 4-1, and I can't remember who they lost this to. But the point is this game is definitely under the radar. But at the same point, it's against 2 teams that are definitely on the rise, Virginia and Duke. In this case, though, I am going to have to go with Duke. I think last week was kind of an anomaly. They played Florida State. They played Miami. They played a good. Their offense just couldn't get anything going, and I don't see that happening 2 weeks in a row. I think they end up getting stuff going, and they beat Virginia, and they should be, honestly, if they can beat Virginia at 5-1, they should be ranked. I'm sorry. Sure, their only loss with their only loss being against a top 10 team in Miami, probably by that point. Yeah. But anyway, guys, this has been college football predictions / preview of week 6. I hope you enjoyed it. I think this week we'll see not many upsets, but some good football, that's for sure. I'm not looking at this schedule going, well, again, I think in the end there'll be some good games, close games that come down to, how's it going to finish, but definitely probably not too many, things that shock you. But you never know. It's college football. You never predict the things that shock you. Otherwise, they wouldn't be shocking now, would they? You never predict the, stupid stuff. So definitely that's some of the games this week. Anyway, guys, this has been it. This has been Tyler here with this preview. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, subscribe, like all my videos. No, honestly, all I would like, if you enjoyed the videos, go down into the comments and put your opinions are, if you differ, give good reasons why. I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, your opinion stinks because you didn't. No, everybody's opinion matters, and I don't mind. I want to hear it. So if you guys have good opinions in the comments, it's cool. Definitely, I'll try to get back to kind of put definitely, if it's kind of a debate on something, I'll definitely give my rebuttal. And yeah, anyway, this has been Week 6 college football predictions. Yeah, and I'll see you come Sunday morning, hopefully. If not, I'm trying to get them out Sunday morning. There was a problem with the one that uploaded Sunday night. I tried to upload it, and it was just being stupid. And I had to upload it Sunday night. I finally got it working. Or I think it was technically Monday morning by that point, since it was after midnight. But yeah, But definitely, I'll try to get that up Sunday morning, if not Sunday night. I'll get my reaction to what went down this weekend. And yeah. But anyway, guys, I've tried to have a good weekend this week, and thoughts and prayers with those that are affected by that, Las Vegas thing. I mean, that's just terrible. To see 50, I think it was 59 now, and 520 people injured is just insane. I mean, that sounds like a battle in a war, almost. But to have one single guy, I mean, I don't know. The reports are that some people are trying to say that it's a conspiracy, that there's more than one. But it's not that shocking given the circumstances that one man. I mean, it's shocking, but it makes sense based on what happened. I mean, that was just a perfect. I hate to use the word perfect crime, but it was. The guy had to have planned it out, but at the same point, definitely, it's a sad thing to hear, and it's sad to hear, about it. Definitely, looking, hopefully we can, move on, and, hopefully, the city of Vegas is pretty resilient, so I don't see them having much problems with it, but, it'll be tough. It's a tough thing, it's tough to put it into words, because it's something that you just can't almost, because it's just something so outrageous that it's like, how did it happen? I mean, we know obviously how it happened. I mean, it's just something like, I don't know, as a person that doesn't, it's not, I mean, I just don't get what the motive would be. I mean, I think that they saw him, but how, I don't know. I mean, and it's challenging for somebody who thinks, who has a head, has a brain in their head to think how somebody could have done that to so many other people, and not had any justification for it other than, I don't know. But again, thoughts and prayers are for them and their families and everything, and just hope that, and it's not something that you look at it and you say, well, this and this could have been. It's just some freak accident. There's nothing. I mean, sure, there's precautions you could have taken to prevent it, but I mean, how many times are? I mean, what are the chances some guy busting open a window in the hotel room, getting weapons in there, and just taking aim at some country? I mean, it's just a freak accident. And the only thing there's hardly any way you could have prevented it, so there's nobody that needs to be, sitting there saying, blah, blah, there's nothing we could do. This kind of stuff is just freak accidents. It's like 9/11. We can take steps now to, improve security all we want, but this, and I think we did a good job after 9/11 of doing that. Maybe I shouldn't have compared it to that, because that goes preventable if we would have done what we probably should have done. But definitely this one, there's no way you could have prevented it other than, there is no way. I mean, maybe with, stricter gun laws and stuff like that, but I mean, even then, if the guy was really bent on doing that, he would have found another way. Obviously, if he's sick enough to do what he did, he's going to find a way to do it in some other way other than with a gun, so, yeah, just messed up. But anyway, again, thoughts and prayers are with the people, the families, and the victims. I mean, the people that are still in the hospital, getting treatment, definitely, wishing them the best. Hopefully we can, move on from this and, maybe be stronger I think, something like this really wakes up to the, and I think the actions of the first responders were incredible. I think it takes a disaster like this to realize, that there are good. I think we hear too much in the media about how bad the police are. We hear about the bad stuff, but it's times like this where we hear the good they do, and I think we do need to concentrate more on good and bad. I mean, definitely we do need to hear about the bad, but I think the good actions, like what we saw in Vegas this weekend, definitely need to be reported a lot more, because I think it would start to put it so it's like, it's kind of the outlier, is when, the outlier is definitely the brutality. I mean, that's the outlier, and I think we need more of the positive sides of law enforcement and first responders than the bad. So, anyway, that's my take. Again, it's a tough situation. Again, words really can't describe the horrors of it, but, it's just one of those things, is you gotta move. As a country, we have to mourn the deaths and move on and be able to, like the lessons we learned from this, and move on and, try to prevent it in the future. I mean, again, there's really no way to prevent this other than, it's just freak accident. But anyway, I mean, tough topic to talk about. I try to stay to sports and try to keep politics out of it, but, I had to say something about that. I mean, that's just definitely something that has to be talked about a little bit. And again, but anyway, try to, you guys try to have a good week. With everything that's happening, it's hard to, but, that's why things like sports are beautiful, because they give us a chance to kind of, even though the NFL's kind of taking the stand against the national anthem and all that, it's kind of a chance to rid ourselves of the troubles that are going on in our daily lives and just sit down and watch football. Sit down and watch something that doesn't mean anything, that just gives us a chance to escape and to, give us something else to think about. And I think that's what football is supposed to be about, and all sports. And I think this weekend especially, it's going to be a good one for those. And I think, that, it'll be a good one to, this week with all the terrible things that are happening. I think it'll be a good chance to, just put that stuff away for a Saturday and say, okay, let's watch some good college football. But anyway, guys, Tyler here. Have a good weekend. Wherever, whoever, have a good weekend. Again, if you want to have your opinion, if you want to share your opinion in the comments, that's more important to me than the stupid like or subscribe or whatever the crap they come up with on YouTube that YouTubers try to use. My main thing is I like the discussion. So in the comments below, just put what your opinions are, and definitely, again, if it's a debate, I will get back to you with a rebuttal, or, if you bring up a point I didn't think about, I'll definitely admit I'm wrong, because these are predictions, okay? They're going to be wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I'm perfect. No, I'm not. But anyway, guys, have a good weekend. I'm hitting almost 45 minutes now. That's going to be, I'm going to cut it off before I start rambling too long. But anyway, have a good weekend, and I'll see you Sunday morning, or Sunday sometime, with my recap. And yeah, have a good weekend.